there'd be something going on that really you weren't even appreciative of what was going on or what to think of it. You just felt a little uneasy, but then all of a sudden you kind of understood it as you got older, and then someone comes and actually tells you that it's happening. So now we're here, and we're on April 20th. So April 20th, I'm just kind of looking at my journal, and I'm trying to basically write down what I'm going through regarding this arrest. And these white SUVs continue to track me everywhere I go, and they continue to follow me around. And I was arrested on April 19th because of these white SUVs. And it's not because, white SUVs or SUVs in general, that color, are the most commonest. It's the fact that these people are timing you and using frequency and literally stalking you to the places that you go. So before that arrest, days preceding that, up to a week before, these white SUVs were actually following behind me to school. And the purpose of me going to school on Saturdays only was to get away from having to transit with this type of abuse and terrorism. So even though I had scheduled a 1 day a week lab, they were following me every day to that lab, every Saturday to that lab behind me. And I was taking videos of that. Then they decide that they're going to continue to stalk me by coming up to my residence and intercepting me. The 10 minutes that I come out of my house, the whole day, they're going to make sure that they're there to follow me around, right, and intercept me when I leave. And then the day of the arrest, they're going to make sure that they're following me to the gym. And so they just ramp up the stalking, basically, in order to press you. And at the same time, they know that you're under psychological constraint to perform in school because of the narrowing of the chapters that you're tested on. So they know that they've constrained you. Okay, they put you under the accordion. And so then what they do is they took the vehicles and they started stressing you out further by deliberately following you. Okay, and when you say stop or leave me alone, they're going against that. They're going against your will. You go to the police, and then the most narcissistic component is the police will do nothing about it. Okay, and they know that you've had multiple reports made, and that you've reported stalking and all the touching and all the rubbing and all the problems preceding it. Okay, and they've done nothing about it. And they know that the attorneys have deliberately deflected any of your service to retain services. And so what they're waiting for you to act so that they can basically arrest you. Going back to the misdemeanors for resisting arrest and disorderly conduct, those are what they're charging me for. And I also had a misdemeanor back in Virginia for not wearing my PFD. Now, those people out there that know about me already, that I've been kayak fishing for, I don't know, since I think 2008 or something like that. But when I fish hard in the past decade, I would go 100 days out of the year, if not more, every year. And the one time that I wasn't wearing it, I chose not to wear it because I was scouting this creek, and the creek was had 3 foot of water. It was basically up to my knees because I was walking in the middle of the creek, and it was like 3 feet, or up to my knees, I should say. And I went to the vehicle and realized it started raining, and I tried to get the jacket. I wanted my jacket to go over the PFD. Realized that the jacket wouldn't fit, and we had a tournament, and I realized that the jacket wouldn't fit over the PFD. Okay, so I said, well, I'll just leave it because I can just walk in the water anyways. I'm not going down this creek. and I'm not worried about it. So I throw it in, and it was raining. Lo and behold, guess who was waiting there? The game warden. And lo and behold, guess who that game warden knew? One of the anglers in the tournament. And guess what that game warden was associated with? A work partner. And guess who that work partner was? One of my opponents in the tournament. And guess where they go? Exactly where I was, in that creek and around it. So I fish 100+ times a year for over a decade. Okay, since like 2011 all the way up to now, I fished probably 100 or more times. Okay, a year, 100 or more times a year, guaranteed. I fish 2-3 times a week, especially when I was a paramedic and I have those days off because I'm only doing, every other day of work or every 2 days of work. I'm fishing. Okay, and the one time I don't wear it out of those hundreds of times. And on top of that, that creek is knee high. And guess who's there waiting? Guess who's there? And top of that, guess what? He said that he told me that I wasn't allowed to put in there. But guess what happened on tournament day? People put in there. And I went miles to get up there. And some guys were already up there. And they parked right there where I was told I wasn't able to. And so in Virginia, if you're not wearing a PFD with your kayak, that's considered a misdemeanor. So I have a misdemeanor on my record. I have 3 now, technically. Okay. So this is the problem with this situation, is that if you think that, well, this is how come, I guess the question is how come I'm not being asked about my PFD any other time? Any other time. No one's ever at the ramp. Just like I was caught, that guy was at the ramp, just sitting there in his SUV. I don't see anybody anywhere near any ramps, near any bridges. The hundreds of times that I went, sitting there waiting. See, that's the problem. That's the problem, is these people are using intelligence-driven crowd control and semantics, okay, and literally cyber stalking you to alter circumstances. And this is intelligence-driven design. That's what this is. This is intelligence-driven design. Okay, and the reason why I have a criminal record is because of people like this that are working at that level, at the justice system level, just like these police officers that I have to deal with here at this area. It's the same thing. And they're allowing and giving people this power to use cyber stalking in order to harass and press somebody until they pop, basically, and become frantic. You're allowed to terrorize somebody until you get what you want from them. That's what this is about. Basically, I have a criminal record because I'm surrounded by criminals. Because they want me at their level, basically, or below them. That's what it is. That's exactly what this is about. So, and the thing about it is that's exactly what intelligence design is all about. Intelligence design and intelligence communities. And there's intelligence agencies that are probably in control of this. And you don't even know that they exist. And they're far in the recesses of any term or abbreviation that you're even closely remotely familiar with. It's not FBI, it's not CIA, it's something probably way, because this type of technology and this type of terrorism would not go over the heads of these type of organizations. They know very clearly what it's about. So let's just jump to the arraignment and what happened on the arraignment. And before this, the day before the arraignment, I decided I was going to go to Planet Fitness and do a morning session around 4. And when I did that, I was in the parking garage, and this guy comes out of a truck and hops out and like has like this purposeful movement, like he was trying to get in front of me and walk in front of me. And sure enough, he was. And I started taking pictures, and the guy's got a blue shirt on, and he looks just like one of my old college acquaintances, Brian Todorovic. Okay. And this is what they do is these people will start mimicking your past. They're taking the people in your past and then for some reason, like bringing them around you and using some form of abuse or some type of reminiscence or something of that nature. And this guy, he just keeps walking in front of me with his blue shirt, kind of diddy bopping, like, I don't know, 10 feet in front of me. And it's the same thing every time you go to the gym. People wearing blue every single time. It's either blue shoes, blue shirt, blue shorts. Same thing every time. You get into the gym, you open the door, and they've established the chain abuse, what I call it, which is when they start using people and coordinating their abuse using visual stimuli. So you open the door to the gym, and the guy's in front of you with this blue shirt on, and then immediately in front of him is people with the treadmill, and you got a lady wearing blue, and this is after you've been arrested and you're charged with 2 misdemeanors basically. And so they're using these couplings, basically everything is a coupling. So they have 2 blue shirts and then a green shirt behind it. And what they're doing is they're using visual stimuli to anchor you. And then what they're using is the actual quote unquote street theater in order to connect your thought processes and target anything that you're going through. And they want to be in control of you at all times so that they can then take the inanimate objects and use innuendo and semantics to harass you and keep you pinned mentally about the abuse. So you can't even go to the gym. And we talked about that, I think, in 99 and 100. Okay. April 21. I could say some stuff about that, but I'm not worried about it. So on Arraignment Day, which was later in the day of the 22nd of April, I went to get there on time, 15 minutes early, ran into this massive traffic campaign. And on the way there, and I have all this on video, they have these white SUVs following me around, making sure that they're always parked, like driving real slow beside me, always making sure that they're right there at all times. And if you look on the opposing lanes, there is no white SUVs. But I'm driving and I've got on video, they're following behind me, doing the same fucking thing that I called the police for. And the police are saying, don't call us. And they're doing the same fucking things to abuse me nonstop. And so all the way to the arraignment, this is like at least a 30-minute, I would say, drive that I did. And all 30 minutes, I had to sit here and have white SUVs fucking all over me. The reason why I'm in there is because I called the police about being fucking stalked. And these assholes are fucking driving around me all the way there to the courthouse. I get into the fucking parking lot, and they've got these red vehicles stacked up in different areas, knowing that I'm going to park in the area. I'm going to read the journal while I'm sitting there in the arraignment. Okay, so I get there, and I'm stalked by white SUVs there. Okay, and I have all this on video. All right. it's very interesting, to say the least. So I arrive. It says right here, I arrive in the arraignment. Court clerk and others in the courtroom popping their lips. So for some reason, they'll start making these noises, like clicking their noises, like clicking for noises, clicking the pen for noise. Or they'll sit there and they'll start popping their lips like this, right? But they'll do it up there near like the courts, what is little like the benches, and all the people to the sides, like the clerks and the scribes or whatever you want to call it. And then you have it in the back, then you have it on the side. Just noises that don't even make sense. Like you've never heard them before, but they're making noises now. Okay. The entire social atmosphere was abrasive 1,000 times over. Okay. So here's what happened. I've already documented. They have red vehicles parked in front of the department on entrance. A lawyer states he has to use the restroom. So the second I get there, I had to use the restroom. And one of those lawyers was walking on the right side of me, and he was walking in synchrony with me. Okay. So I get there after being stalked to the courtroom and in the parking lot. Okay. I go inside and I'm told that I have to go to the metal detector. But while I'm walking inside, I have this guy in a suit and tie. Okay. And he's walking on my accord to my right. He goes through the door. I go through the door, and he says, I have to use the restroom. I have to use the restroom. And this is what I don't get about this campaign, is that they know when you have to use the restroom. Okay. And they'll use the restroom as abuse. They'll use the restroom as abuse. Okay. In a public setting. All right. So they know you have to use the restroom. So what does he say? I have to use the restroom. Okay. Here we go. So from beginning all the way there, here we go. And it just starts escalating, just nonstop abrasion, right? We're going to mock you. We're going to stalk you. Nothing you can do about it. Okay. And you're in the fucking courthouse around a bunch of fucking cops. Okay. And the cops are going to partake in it. So in correlation with persistent white SUVs in transit, okay, and the judge is actually a male when the magistrate stated the judge was a female. So I called to go and make an appointment with the magistrate to address my concerns about stalking of these vehicles and these white SUVs. I called. And when I called, the magistrate told me that she doesn't make appointments, that I could talk to the judge, and the judge was going to be a female, and she told me her name. And then when I get there at 17:30, it's a male judge, just like the website said on my research. It was the judge that I found to be on my research. And I was lied to about the judge being a female. Okay. At 17:43, this is 10 minutes in, I am told to leave the front row, which is used for lawyers, by a police officer. Okay. On the right-hand side of the room, they have a female officer who gave me a hard time with the impoundment process signature standing on the wall. This female officer looked like a African-American version of a Asian female that I was dating back in school, like years ago. Okay. Looked just like her. Okay. So here we are, from leaving the house, okay, being stalked by white SUVs and red SUVs, okay, and then arriving to be mocked, okay, and watch permissive neglect occur, okay, and then be told that I have to move from the front seat in front of 40 plus people, okay, that I have to move. He comes and tells me and me only, okay. The judge is actually a male, and the judge is the judge that I found to be on my research on their webpage. Okay. The female officer who made me Lyft, because I stopped using Uber, the day of my arrest to retrieve my impounded vehicle, okay, that was the officer who didn't give me my paperwork to go get my vehicle. Instead, they just released me to abuse me, and then I had to do lifts back and forth from impoundment to the courthouse because of them not giving me papers. Then when they did give me the papers to release from impoundment, they made sure not to sign the paper. Then when I went back, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. And then she goes, "Oh, well, that changed today. We don't sign." And then she's just giving me this runaround, forcing me to use money and lift back and forth. Okay. I have her name somewhere. And she's sitting there right behind the officer who comes up to me and says that I'm not supposed to sit there. So he comes up to me like this, and she's on the wall, literally like at the 1 o'clock position, right? To make sure that I see her. This is what's going on in just the day. Never mind what happens outside of arraignment. Never mind what happens. This is just right here in arraignment going on. Okay. Another 10 minutes goes by. So okay. I'm reading my journal here. All right. So about 30 to about 40 minutes goes by. I'm listening. And by the way, I'm just stating facts. Okay. When I was in the courtroom, it was all African American, and conservatively 5 Caucasian people, no Hispanic people in there, to my knowledge, maybe 1, but just stating facts here. Okay, I'm just stating facts. Vast majority, everybody was pretty much African American there. At 1820, the court official uses last name synonymous with mine. So what this guy does is, you have somebody in the background in an office who's calling out names. I have no clue what it's about, none whatsoever. And he goes, Michael, and then starts saying something very close to my last name. I was like, maybe he just mispronounced it. I sat there and thought about it for like 5 to 10 seconds. And then I got up. I said, maybe I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I was like, this is a harassment. I already know it, because I could feel this is the social milieu, and this is exactly what they're doing. And I've been here before. Sure enough, I go out of the courtroom. I go to this little dinky room with people in the line. And then he calls the name out again. And a guy actually moves and walks into the office. I said, okay, that's what I thought. I knew this was something. I knew something was up. So they like to do that. They'll take your name, or they'll take something similar and try to get you to move and harass you. So here I am. Okay. So I literally had to get up, leave, right? And then come back and open up the courtroom doors and walk back to the bench and sit down, right? And then here's the thing, is literally 5 seconds later, I sit down, some guy on the left side of the courtroom just starts laughing and chuckling. Okay? He starts laughing and chuckling. Like, aha, we got you. Okay. Yeah, this is a 2+ hour session. Okay. I've been in here about 40 minutes at the time. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was chuckling. But the second I went to stand up and go talk to the prosecutor, realize it was the wrong name, came back and sat down. Why would somebody be laughing 5 seconds later? Been in the courtroom 40, 45 minutes. Why would somebody be laughing then? Guess what? We went the whole rest of the 2.5 hours. Nobody laughed. Nobody chuckled. But the second I sit down after going through that whole psychosocial setup, someone's chuckling. Okay? And it wasn't, and I have it documented here. It wasn't even 5 seconds. It was 2 to 3 seconds. Okay? And then it says, when I was called with a synonymous name, the title interview, okay. Constant mind game. Okay, dropping a phone. All right. So then what they do is they'll start dropping phones. Remember everyone acting clumsy? The CIA field manual sabotage. So people will start acting clumsy and doing things. Yeah. So when people are walking up and they're all in proximity to me, they're doing things like dropping their phones. Nobody anywhere else around the courtroom was dropping their phone. But by God, when they were sitting beside me and they were called up, guess what? They dropped their phone. Okay. And then the officer who asked me to move from the front row had other non-lawyers or people like myself that were there for arraignment, had them sit in the front row. On more than one occasion, on multiple occasions. Okay. So he tells me that the front row is for lawyers. Okay. And then he tells me that I'm not to sit there, but then he puts other people who are going to go talk to the judge, not lawyers, but people who are paying in court and arraignment as well for whatever it may be, traffic tickets, robbery, whatever you can imagine, whatever it may be. Okay. These people are allowed to sit in the front row. Same officer that told me I can't sit where they're there because lawyers sit there. He's telling me that I can't sit in the front row. And then he starts staging people to sit in the front row. Okay. So then this has to be, let's see here, 17, hour and a half later. Okay. Pretty soon the room starts getting empty. And I'm one of the few people, I'm maybe like, I don't know, 4 to 8 people. Maybe I'd say 8 people. It was like about 40 people in there initially, and then narrowed down, 2.5 hours later to about less than 10 people, let's just say. Okay. All of a sudden, these guys, other people are coming in and they're sitting to my left and to my right. And you have these guys are wearing red shirts. So someone wearing a red shirt to my right, someone wearing a red shirt to my left, and then they have this giant African-American obese dude sitting directly in front of me with this huge orange shirt. Giant orange shirt. Okay? And they're using ambient abuse right there in the courtroom. Okay? Having the police officers abuse you. And you're just being abused. Literally, you're being abused. You're under a campaign of visual pollution and noise pollution right there in the courtroom. And the judge is just sitting there doing his little thing, just pushing papers, having some small chats here and there, yada, yada, police looking around, other fucking secretaries and everything, just doing what they have to do. And they're just sitting there. And then you have them using semantics or ambient abuse by taking like a book that has like a blue cover and waiting for you to look up and then flipping the cover. And it's just all this cyber stalking. This is literally cyber stalking and literally in tune with your physiology and just fucking abusing you in the fucking courtroom. That's America. All right. So, all right. So at 19, so at, man, that's 2 hours. Yeah. That's 2 hours in. This officer, the same officer abusing me about where to sit in the front seat, comes up to me. And first, he walks up into the front of the bench and he goes, can you raise your hand if you haven't been addressed, this, that, and the other thing? I raise my hand. He goes, what's your name? And so he's acting at this point like he doesn't know my name. That's what he's doing. He's acting like he doesn't know my name. I got all of this stuff going on, thousands of people outside the courtroom following me in their personal vehicles and harassing me. And I've got all of this ambient abuse by all the people in the courtroom going on, acting like, and then what he does is he continues to antagonize me, telling me that he needs to know my name. Almost like clear, cut, and dry. He wants to act like the village idiot, and he doesn't know my name, but thousands of people everywhere know my name. Okay. So I raise my hand. He comes up to me, asks me my name, and he goes, what's your first and last name? And I told him, and I go, 3 times I go with him to tell him my last name. And he goes, and he acts like he can't pronounce it. He acts like he can't pronounce my last name. And he writes E-M, right? My last name starts with an M. And he's got this pad kind of close, like this, trying to show me. And he writes E-M, knowing that I'm in EMS. And so he's writing E-M. When I said my first letter starts with an M, he's going to write E-M. E-M is like emergency medicine, okay? It's like emergency medicine. And that's what he put. He put the letter E.M. When I told him that my first letter of my last name started with an M, this guy puts the letter E and the letter M on his pad. And then he asked me to enunciate my last name 3 times. And 3 is the number of misdemeanors that I have. Okay? And he acts like he doesn't know how to fucking do it. He acts like he doesn't know who the fuck I am. And he's sitting there using semantics throughout the whole interaction. Okay? And again, I'm the only one, okay, that he went and spoke to. Okay, I'm the only one in that courtroom that he walked up to talk to me. Okay, the only one. And then he went back and did some stuff and stood there with the judge and did some other things. So I get up to a point where I'm one of the last ones, and all of a sudden, a guy comes out, calls my name. It's the prosecutor. Prosecutor brings me to his office, and he wants me to like sign some paper, acknowledging, I guess, whatever the misdemeanors. And then he hands me a like a plead guilty form. I didn't sign it. But I said, what do I do if I have spoliation of evidence? Isn't that like rule, I think like federal rule 37 or something like that? And he goes, what's that? And he never introduced himself or anything. I have no clue who he is. So I had to ask him his name. I said, sir, what's your name? Anyways, long story short, he's like, what's that? I said, spoliation of evidence. He said, what's that? So I said, removal of evidence, videos, pictures. And he goes, I would get a lawyer. Okay. So the thing about it is these lawyers want like a retention fee of $3,000 minimum. Okay. And they don't have cybersecurity. They don't have cybersecurity stuff. What's going on is like Pegasus, basically. They just bypass it. They're breaking through Kaspersky and McAfee like it was, hot knife and butter. Like it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter what security you have. It doesn't. They got wormholes that just go through it. So I do my plea or whatever, and eventually I'm called to speak to the judge, or at least approach the judge after I wrote my forms out with the prosecutor and sat back down. He calls me up. I get up there, and I asked to get a court-appointed attorney. And he says, well, if you're capable of working, then you need to go get a lawyer. I see that you're capable of working. I told him, well, I'm only doing, this, and I'm only making that right now, doing this many days a week, and it's gender specific. And he didn't have much to say. He's just like, well, if you're working capable, then you need to go get a lawyer. That's denied. You're not getting appointed a lawyer. So all of these years, we're doing the same thing, the same fucking thing that I've had to deal with for a decade. Is these guys, this justice system does not want to afford you an attorney. They want you to go right back into the terrorism. Right back into the terrorism. Okay? So, tearing your Achilles tendon, that's not enough. Developing Raynaud's syndrome, okay, which is a peripheral arterial disease from chronic stress, which I was diagnosed with, is not enough. Deteriorating eyesight is not enough, okay? And scraping by, okay, is not enough, okay? And bouncing around and the wear and tear on the financial aspects of moving around and all the applications you're putting in is not enough. So the conspiracy doesn't mean anything to them, okay? The physical injuries don't mean anything to them, okay? And the thing about it is I've already addressed these things with lawyers, and they only want to target just the misdemeanors. They're not concerned about the coercive control. They're not worried about the civil conspiracy. They're not worried about that, okay? Because like I spoke to the North Precinct before, I said, you guys are only here to address something when it happens. You're never here to do something prophylactically or to prevent something. You're only here to act on something, and you're waiting for something to happen. This was back in November before I was arrested, and I was already reporting stalking to the second degree. I was already reporting harassment. I was already reporting the potential for trespassing violations. I was already reporting all of these things, right? Already making movements for eviction if it pertained to that. I was already doing these things years in the making. And then I do my background research and do some cookie crumb research on all the things that they were supposed to officially be documenting and putting in their records. I find out that over 3/4 of the things that I've addressed with them aren't even in their records. Not in the county records, not in the city records, not in the municipality records, none of it. All gone. Reports aren't even official. They'll deny you your ability to write a report, and they'll just throw out the evidence. So I get up to the judge. I've already told him about the work situation. He said, look, you're capable of working. You need to go get a lawyer. And a discussion, dink-de-dink, sign this, that, print. All right, see you later. So now 4 months from now, I got to go and it's going to be a continued. So I've been charged with something and we're going to wait 4 months for me to go and retain and do what I've got to do and go get a lawyer. And then we're going to continue the process. But he starts gaslighting me. I told him I was doing some nursing, and I stopped. I just waited for him to do some paperwork. And he goes, I know you're in nursing school. I know you want to go to nursing school and this, that, and the other thing. And then he just signed some papers. I was like, I never said that. So the judge was gaslighting me. I never said anything about nursing school. Never said a thing. And this is what I'm talking about, is you can't just have you can't just say something or be around people and these people are fucking gaslighting you. You know, and then whenever I'm reporting these things or I have it recorded and I'm saving it, they're waiting for me to consolidate the information and then removing it from either my desktop, or they're removing it from my phone, or they're removing it from the laptop. Okay. I have some other things here too. The other thing was when I was on the way to the arraignment and I had this barrage of white SUV terrorism occur, I had my Google Maps open and my phone interface locked up. So it was on maps and they knew that I was going to be in traffic. So they had the interface completely locked up. I was trying to navigate and zoom in because usually it's automatic. Usually it just does, the phone does what it's supposed to do. But they hacked the phone, locked up the fucking phone while I'm in the middle of fucking traffic that's stop and go, stop and go. It's like super busy and congested and shit. And you got these white SUVs fucking all around you everywhere you go, following you to the right side of you, beside your vehicle, either fucking in front of you and you're literally behind them, okay? And the whole time you're trying to navigate around like these collisions on the main interstate, and these fuckers are inside my phone, locking up the interface on my phone. And they'll do this when I go fishing, is they'll wait for me to go fishing, have a good day, and they'll be remotely surveying my mental state. And what they'll do is they'll wait for me to have a good day. I'll be fishing, listening to my jam, probably Hootie and the Blowfish, maybe fucking Shaggy, Boombastic, and all of a sudden they'll turn the Spotify off. But my bars are 4 bars. Well, I've got a 5G phone. Never had any issues here before. Or they'll wait for me to go to the gym. I made an A, or I did good on an exam. They'll wait for me to go to the fucking gym, and then they'll turn the music off. And what they'll do is they'll turn the music off whenever I'm in the gym and have a bunch of thugs in the gym come around me and start having conversations about gaslighting me about something or fear mongering me by using third person conversation. Okay, so that's what happened on arraignment day. Locks up my phone so I can't navigate alternative routes and look at where the fuck I'm going, knowing that I'm pressed for time and I needed a little bit more time than I thought, but I did get there on time. Being professional, saying I'm going to be there 15 minutes early, got me there on time. Had I said I'm just going to be there when I need to be there, I'd have been fucking hella late. Okay. The whole time, though, they're locking up the phone, having me stalked, and then having all of these semantics and abuse by the justice system in the department. All the way to the very last person, which is the judge, gaslighting me about going to nursing school. Why? Why would I go to, why? And that's how this program is working, is they want to try to show you this harassment and stalk you and abuse you while you're being moral and ethical and just going through thinking that you're going to be altruistic and you're going to do what you want to do in life, which is in healthcare, and you enjoy it And so they're going to target that. They're going to target that. Just like they want to target my fishing, or they want to target the gym. And it's everywhere you go. They want to target your shopping. Everywhere you're targeted. Okay, so April 23rd, okay? April 23rd, the day after arraignment. Here's what happens. I get up, head to my study room, my office, all right, where I keep my laptop. After about 3 minutes of browsing, all of a sudden, and I've never seen these before until the recent, like 2 months, these black boxes are popping up on my laptop, okay? And it'll and what happened was it flashed 3 times. So now they're doing semantics, okay? They're running semantics. So you have these black boxes showing up on your laptop screen. 1, 2, 3, and then it'll go away. Semantics about my misdemeanors, okay? Semantics about my misdemeanors. All right. After those 3 black boxes appeared, all of a sudden the keyboard becomes disabled. Okay. And you can see someone is selecting real quick up on my shortcut apps on the screen. Okay. And it begins toggling randomly. Okay. Then I go and I'm studying the story of my life. Go figure. I'm always studying and I'm always moving academically. So I'm doing some assessments and some practice review. And I get to, guess what? Section 3. Okay. And I am literally halfway through a 50 question practice test. A 50 question, I'm halfway through, okay? And the whole test shuts off. This is a section 3 practice test. I have 3 misdemeanors. Yesterday, at the time, I just went to arraignment. They're charging me with 2 misdemeanors, right? Disorderly conduct and resisting arrest because I'm frantic and I've been followed and stalked and I've been dealing with a bunch of bullies and they want to give me disorderly conduct. And then whenever they want to spear me into my vehicle, which is 20 plus feet away, they want to drag me and smear me and try to throw me into it. And then they say that I'm resisting arrest when it's brutality. Listen, this is what went on the day after, okay? This is what happened the day after. So then I'm applying to these jobs, right? And some of the jobs, this is a Tuesday, I believe, wants me to be all the way in Miami, Florida by Thursday. Okay. The other thing is I have a neighbor that's been throwing water bottles around the border property. Neighbor has been throwing water bottles around the border property, or I'm finding trash where they know I store my trash bin. That's another deal. And then when I finally finished this this Section 3 practice test, they had questions on there that weren't clear, like the answers weren't clear in the book at all. And I've been doing nothing but book work since I've left the college. I mean, school is all I know. So reading is pretty familiar with me at this point. And finding things in medical literature is pretty easy for me at this point. And they did all kinds of wrong on these questions. And again, we talked about the numbers 16, the numbers 9, and guess what? Sure enough, question 16 was a problem. And what they've been doing is they've been feeding me literature that is suited and created basically to have me encounter as abuse. And they're starting to alter things like any question with the number 6, any question with the number 9. And this goes on, doesn't matter what school it is. In my nursing school, it was the same thing. I've got reports on that. I had to make an administrative meeting with the board or whatever it is that's overseeing the teachers about it. It's the same thing, making semantics about it. And then what happens is you get it wrong. And the purpose of it for you to get it wrong is so that you can get a final score of a number in 6. And in this case, after cutting me off using cyber stalking on my laptop and orchestrating poor question making to get the question 16 wrong, I end up getting a score at 86. Okay. This is perpetual. And then my phone battery is sitting at 66% while I'm finishing up this exam with a score of 86. Okay. So then I'm going to finish it out right here and we'll just make it up for a different time, a different day. I go to the gym in the evening time at night on the 23rd. And it's the typical harassment. You're going to get the blue, someone wearing blue, walking around your proximity. Or in this case, they're wearing gray now, gray shirts, gray everything. Okay. I'm driving and I do what I have to do. And when I get back, all of a sudden, I have this police officer driving by me fast, like a little. It's basically, imagine like an S10, but it's more like a Frontier, I would say. But it's a legit police vehicle, and he's running. The speed limit's only 40, and this fucker without lights is probably doing 50, I would say. But he comes by like he's to the right side of his lane, so he's close to me basically. And he just comes by like that and goes, okay? And then minutes later, another SUV comes by, another of the same police department comes by and is driving beside me and then parks beside me while we're at a red light. While this is going on, you have these 3 electrical power trucks coming from the side streets, turn and intercept me, okay? So you have these 3 power trucks with towers, step ladders, okay? And they're like pole trucks, right? Electrical pole trucks. 3 white ones coming and driving in front of you now. Light turns green, and then you have the police driving beside you now. And then these 3 power trucks, like 3 misdemeanors type thing. And then you have a red truck like my father's truck with a fucking a cab on it. A cab protector, a bed protector, okay, like a shell top. So you have that going on. And so they're using street theater at this point. So now they're trying to send the signal, okay, that look, you have 3 misdemeanors, and then they're going to have the police sit there and harass you. And then you're going to have someone that reminds you of your father, and we're just going to drive in front of you for the next 2 miles or so down the road. This is at like fucking 10:05 at night, okay? 10:05 at night. And so I'm driving, and these fucking 3 power trucks stay in front of me. One truck goes, the red truck deviates, the police truck turns right later down the road. I keep going to the left. And then what they have is the police dip to the right, the red truck dip to the right, I ended up passing the power trucks, and then they had the ambulance come through in the middle, okay, knowing that I'm leaving EMS. I just got done through arraignment, going through harassment with some officer, trying to use semantics of my last name, all that bullshit that I just went through. And then they're going to run some semantics using their vehicles, right? Street theater. Okay. Cyber stalking, federal violation, state violation, harassment, conspiracy in the color of law. Okay. And so I end up just going home, whatever. And that's what happened on April 23rd. Okay. So this is just the things that I have to go through. I think people don't understand the nature of the campaign. And the problem with the campaign is they're there to set you up. And that's the problem, is they're cyber stalking you, just like the PFD. They're cyber stalking you and setting you up around problems, knowing that we can follow you to the school, okay, that we can just harass you when we want to, call you when we want to. Every time I get a phone call, they're waiting for me to get on the treadmill, and then they'll call me, okay? That's what's happened for the past 2 weeks. I've never received a phone call, okay, hardly ever, when I'm just in my house. Every time I get a phone call, they wait for me to step onto the treadmill. Then I get the phone call. Okay. When you're getting, these little traffic violations and shit, these vehicles, they're working to make sure that the lights turn. They're making sure that the lights turn, okay, at a specific time when you approach the light. And that's how they're entrapping you. And it's a society of people who are here to entrap you in problems. Okay, that's what people don't understand about this program. It's not that you're driving irresponsibly. It's not that you don't give a shit. It's I'm aware of what's going on, but the calculation of how you drive isn't about you. It's not about your mental state. It's not about anything. It's about how they've orchestrated the light in front of you. And what they'll do is they're orchestrating it and so that it turns at a specific time where it doesn't really matter. Either you have to go through it and it's barely going to turn, like it's going to turn red exactly when you like go under it, or it's going to force you to abruptly slam your brakes because they're orchestrating when you go through. Okay. It's just like these people are deliberately making sure that they're giving you the wrong information at all times. Right. This isn't something that you can't just say, oh, well, I've been taught not to do these things. I've been taught how to drive. I've been taught how to do these things. And I know it won't happen to me. It doesn't matter what the fuck you think. It doesn't matter how the fuck you drive. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because they'll just sit there and they'll just orchestrate it. Okay, so you're in the situation to begin with. And they'll just press you. And they're weaponizing everything that is out there in the environment. Everything is weaponized. Interactions are weaponized. You can't just sit there and just read. You can't just sit there and mind your own business. It's because people are going to approach you and people are going to start forcing you to explain yourself based off of things that aren't true. When you go to report this, this is what I've read to you, all the facts that have occurred. The police play into it. I've already went over how many times I've been to that department and shown them evidence. They don't want to do anything. And they want to sit there and antagonize you and then erase the videos and then not report what is being told to them. They don't want to open up an investigation. I've asked them to. They don't want to do these things. And they want to wait for something to happen. And this is what happens. I have this on record with one of the police departments, specifically the city police department. I told them, you guys are waiting for something to happen. That's how you guys operate. That's exactly how you operate. You want someone to get killed, stabbed, or you want something to happen, and then you go and you address the problem, and then you do the research. That's the dumbest thing when you have someone in here and you're deliberately pushing research away, you're pushing evidence away, you're destroying evidence, and you're doing everything you can to prevent it from being reported. And then you want me to defend myself over the things I told you were going on. And then when someone has a mental break, you want to say that, hey, look, we don't deal with that. Well, it's not my problem. It's not my problem. Because if someone's going to have and allow anarchy to occur, it's exactly that then, isn't it? It's anarchy. So this is the Conspiracy Broadcasting Network, vlog 102. I always have some very interesting things to say, but this is how conspiracy works. No one gives a shit. Your body's fucking breaking down. You really can't go to the gym. You can't work on yourself or go out to the public spaces because you have people abusing you at all times. You have nonstop vehicular abuse at all times. You have domestic abuse at all times, cyber stalking at all times, coercive control at all times, permissive neglect at all times, violations of Amendment 14 at all times. You have so many violations going on that you just can't be around people because they've weaponized people, essentially. It's a weapon. EMS, out the window, not dealing with it. Nursing, that's getting ready to go out the window. I'm not dealing with that. Because what they're doing is they're compressing the two worlds together. You're over here reflecting altruism and care, right, and concern, and at the backside, they're over here terrorizing you with no care, with no fucking concern, and you're just living this life of fucking abuse. All right. Next, I want to maybe upload 1 or 2 videos, little snippets. I might just start putting in pictures because I have to apply this later in court. And I just know that there's a bunch of scumbags hanging out there in the cloud, overlooking all of my electronics, listening to me and fucking around with me. And they want to remove a lot of evidence. And, that's on them, but I'm going to try my best to safeguard it until time requires me to speak. So that's that.